You're listening to the Back Porch Talk podcast. Danny and Jason had many discussions and debates on the back porch while making pivotal investment moves with assets. That's right, with trading cards. They welcome you to the back porch and right into those discussions about current sports news with a fresh and unique twist. So come on and join us. Welcome to the Back Porch Talk podcast. I'm your co-host, Jason.
Your co-host, Danny.
Fans, we got a full show for you today, primarily on two topics, NBA playoffs and the NFL draft. Danny, we'll see how this goes, but I've been sitting on some things for a little bit of time. I got to get off my chest. But first, let's go right into the NBA playoffs and where the Milwaukee Bucks got booted in the first round by the Miami Heat out of the playoffs. Danny, this was so disheartening to watch and to witness. I know the fans still in shock. I know I'm still in shock every time I'm listening to stuff on the radio about the playoffs or just even looking at the playoffs. I'm just shaking my head like, man, these Milwaukee Bucks got bounced in the first round. And it's disheartening to see because they have the best record in the NBA. And it's not so much, I don't think it's as much as that they got bounced, it's how they got bounced. Mm-hmm. They won one game. Now, granted, Giannis was hurt. He was out. The coaching was bad. We now know possibly the reasoning and why Coach Bud may not have been totally in the series head-wise or from a mentality standpoint. There are reports that he has lost his brother in a car accident. That was right before Game 4. And we send our condolences to him and his family. Maybe his assistants could have taken the reins. It was hard to watch this series because Jimmy Butler just kept coming, man. And there were no adjustments, no double team. Mm-hmm. They kept switching. It's only so much Drew can do in terms of guarding him. This was just a disheartening series to watch, Danny. What say you about these Milwaukee Bucks? I got some more stuff to say, but what say you about these Milwaukee Bucks?
Jason, yeah, just to go out the way they did, everything was set up for them for the playoff run, having home court advantage. Something we alluded to in the last show. I thought this would be more like a March Madness NBA playoffs where some big upsets would occur. Didn't know the Bucks would be one of those casualties, but it's shaping up that way where it is going to be wide open, where they, honestly, I thought they could have, the way Boston's playing right now, this could have been theirs for the taking. Just to see them lose the way they did. And this goes way back too of Miami instead of Atlanta, right? If Miami wins that play-in game, Miami's playing Boston, Atlanta's playing Milwaukee. From a hindsight perspective, where it would have been, I think, an easier matchup for Milwaukee because Miami, man, for whatever reason, they have their number. I know the Bucks swept them a couple years ago, but Miami always plays Milwaukee tough. Jimmy Butler played his butt off. Some of it, I know Coach Bud did not make adjustments. That's obviously he didn't play Jay Crowder in the Game 5 like we were pining for. I think he got 19 seconds. It's just throwing different bodies at Jimmy Butler and throwing different looks at him now to slow him down. But it also comes down to the players. And that Game 5, Giannis was 10 for 23 from the line. And if he's getting all those touches down low and he can't execute at the line, that's huge. Because that was part of the problem when they lost a few years back, where he was struggling with his free throws, and then he rectified that the next year. Like even that last sequence in Game 5 in overtime, like it was like hot potato. No one wanted to shoot the ball. It ended up in Grayson Allen's hands, of all people, where you have Drew, Giannis, and Chris Middleton out there, and Grayson Allen has the ball to try to close the game. So that was more or less the icing on the cake. You look forward, And how does this impact the team with the free agency and all the things that will be upcoming in the off season? Tough season for the Bucks, and now a lot of decisions have to be made to see how they proceed forward and try to get back to where they were before the playoffs started.
Yeah, Danny, there's so many coaching mistakes in this game five and overtime. Jay Crowder, after the game, I think he was asked about his role, and he so much indicated he doesn't know his purpose on the team. I mean, we gave up, what, 5 second-round picks to get Crowder for him to play 19 seconds. He would have been a great person to body Jimmy Butler. Even if he couldn't hang with Jimmy Butler, you could at least body him a little bit.
He could have put some marks on him.
Yeah, something, man. I mean, come on, man. So we give up all of that trade assets, trade capital for Jay Crowder, who barely plays in the whole series. The lack of a timeout when Miami Heat was making a run in the second half, and also at the end of the fourth quarter. I don't know, just a lot of coaching mistakes, in my opinion. And you're right. There's going to be a lot of questions in free agency that Milwaukee is going to have to answer. I mean, we definitely will still have Giannis. Chris Middleton is the big question mark here. He has a player option where he's at $40.4 million. A player option for that. I think he's looking to get a longer term deal.
Mm-hmm.
So I can see him potentially opting out of this player option for a longer term deal. Now, whether he gets that from Milwaukee or elsewhere, that's the question. We will continue to have Drew, but Brook, he's up for free agency. I mean, Brook had an awesome season, man. This was definitely a contract year, and he definitely has played up to any kind of contract that he's going to get in this upcoming year. Now, whether it's with Milwaukee or not, that's another question. Jay Crowder, he's going to be gone. Joe Ingles, another free agent. We'll continue to have Pat Connaughton. They need to really develop Beauchamp. If anything, I think Milwaukee needs to get younger, especially in defending the 3 points. I mean, we need players to sprint out to defend the three. That was our downfall. Part of the downfall anyway. We'll continue to have Javon Carter. Wesley Matthews is no longer, he doesn't have a contract. Goran Dragic doesn't have a contract with us. Myers Leonard doesn't have a contract with us. So we'll see what happens, but the big piece is going to be Chris Middleton, and we'll see what happens there, Danny. On to the rest of the playoffs here, Danny. I think we're looking at a very interesting playoff, and where now you have the Phoenix Suns and the Denver Nuggets going at it, and where Denver has gone up 2-0. Personally, Danny, I don't see where Phoenix comes back. They don't have a bench. Granted, they're going back to Phoenix, and bench players and role players, they tend to play better at home. I don't see it, though. I think Denver has their number unless somebody really guards Jamal Murray. I don't see Phoenix really coming back here. CP3 is hurt again. We don't know what his status for the next game is going to be, but nonetheless, this goes down as another year where he's hurt. So I don't see Phoenix coming back in this one. I see Denver moving forward. And then real quickly onto your late show, Danny, where the late show and Golden State Warriors face off tonight. You talk about a performance by a great with Steph Curry dropping 50 in Game 7. Are you kidding me? I've been going back and forth on this Lakers Golden State series. A lot of it hinges upon what AD we're going to see. Is he going to be consistently in there? But even so, man, this is going to be a great, great series, Danny. What say you about the Western Conference?
Denver, man, Jamal Murray's looking like he's back in the bubble. The way he was playing is what he looks like right now. He looks completely healthy, and he's a tough guard, and Jokic is destroying them. They have no answer for Jokic. Ayton, Now, last night, Phoenix was winning that game in the second half, and there were some questionable calls on Aiden, where if Aiden is in the game, I think they make it closer than what it was. Once he picked up his fourth foul, and that's been a problem with him, with Aiden, when he gets in foul trouble, Phoenix has no one to go to. Biyombo is serviceable, but he's no Aiden. So I'm curious to see how game 3 goes, but this goes back to the bench depth. Phoenix doesn't have it, and you mentioned that. And that's what's killing them right now because they need some production off the bench. And with CP3 out, that makes it even more of a challenge for Phoenix, or uphill battle for Phoenix to beat Denver. I want to see how game 3 goes, but right now Denver's trending in the right direction to make it to the Western Conference Finals. And as far as the Lakers and Warriors, it's going to be a long few nights here, Jay. These Western Conference games. I don't even know what to think with this Lakers-Warriors series, man. It's because both teams have been up and down. Like Golden State in their closeout game in game 6, they laid an egg, but then Steph Curry goes crazy in game 7. And the Lakers, same thing. They had a closing game. They laid an egg in Memphis, but then came home and blew Memphis out by 40. It's definitely going to have eyes on the TV for this one. And yeah, it's hard to say, Jay. I can't call it. Because the teams are just so up and down right now. Neither of these teams have been consistent. And we'll see, because if Klay Thompson and Klay Thompson's kind of been struggling, so if he gets going, that can give the Warriors an edge. And the same breath, if LeBron continues to play the way he's playing and the bench can play, halfway decent, the Lakers have a good shot to beat Golden State. All in all, just looking forward to seeing this series play out.
And then the Boston Celtics loses at home against the Philadelphia 76ers, Danny. I mean, who saw this coming? I mean, James Harden with 45 on him. Without Joel Embiid, who is out injured with a knee injury here. We'll see when he comes back. But Danny, I did not see this coming. Boston may have taken the 76ers lightly here without Joel Embiid. I believe that Boston is actually going to come back in game 2 and tie the series up, quite frankly. I hate to say this, Danny, but this is just a smooth, clear path for the Boston Celtics right now. I mean, without Milwaukee in the playoffs, this is a smooth path for them. And I just think that, again, this is probably why we're heartbroken about the Milwaukee Bucks not at least advancing here. Because not only was it this year, but it was also last year when Middleton was out with the injury. And we thought, well, Middleton could come back and we'll have good success here. We can make a run. Mm-hmm. So potentially this is not 2, but possibly 3 NBA Finals appearances that we should have made. And you talk about economic come up. If you go to the finals, that's a huge economic come up for the city, but then also for the franchise. So I think we're just missing out here. I think, again, the Bucks are going to have to get younger in order to keep Giannis, quite frankly, in order to continue to compete as well. But what say you about these 76ers and Celtics?
James Harden looked like the old James Harden last night. Mm-hmm. And I think Boston must have forgot because James Harden has been in this position before where he's the alpha when he played in Houston. And he fell short against Golden State where he ran out of gas because he was doing too much. And frankly, he had to do a lot because of the team. But last night, that was vintage James Harden. And that last step back 3 he hit on Al Horford, I don't know why they didn't throw another body at him to get him off his spot, but he set that up perfectly. Boston, yeah, they let one slip away there where this gives Philly some confidence now. Now we know Philly and how they operate in the playoffs. as of recent where they show flashes and then they fall apart. So without Embiid, how does that impact Harden when Embiid comes back? And sharing the ball and making sure everyone's happy. But the young players stepped up for Philly last night. Maxey had a good game. Paul Reed had a good game, hit some huge free throws at the end as well. Once again, Boston played like this against Atlanta. They looked really good, and then they let some games slip away and let Atlanta get some confidence, and they put them away in that game 6. But they can't do that with Philadelphia. Philadelphia is just a little bit better than Atlanta, and they better take care of business. Otherwise, they may be out.
And lastly, Danny, the New York Knicks against Miami Heat. Jimmy Butler continues to be Jimmy Butler, and where Miami Heat takes game 1. Game 2 is tonight. We'll see what happens here, but man, this is going to be a very interesting series. And I think people need to watch out. If Miami advances, Tyler Hero could come back because he's supposed to be out, 4 to 6 weeks.
Yep.
So the way these finals are, or excuse me, the playoffs are going, and where there's a good game day, maybe 2 days in between games, this could really bode well for Tyler Hero. So we'll see what happens. But man, an interesting series between Miami Heat and New York Knicks. What say you, Danny?
New York needs some get back tonight. They shot horribly on Sunday. They couldn't hit anything, and Miami was just riding the wave, man, coming off that series victory against Milwaukee. And the Knicks better be careful. They better not lose tonight because that's going to be hard to come back from on Miami. Just wait, because Miami plays really good defense. Mm-hmm. So they're always going to be in the game. But if Brunson can get going, Randall was out game 1 as well. So there's some things there where in game 2, New York can turn things around and tie this series up heading back to Miami. But don't let game 2 slip away, man, because you don't want to be down 2-0 going back to Miami.
Mm-hmm. Now, Danny, on to the NFL, where the NFL had the draft this past weekend. And let me just say, a very interesting weekend. Young men who become NFL professionals from student athletes are making some bank. Here it is that yet again, the NFL doesn't draft HBCU players, for that matter, FCS players. But over the past decade, in this particular draft, let me just say, in this particular draft, there's been 10 FCS players drafted. Last year was 20. Year before that was 5. 2020 was 6. 2019 there were 13. In 2018 there were 19. Now let's go back that far. Out of that, over the past a few years, one person was drafted from the HBCU this year, 3 last year. In 2021, 0. 2020, 0. 2019, 4. In 2018, 2. There were several individuals from HBCUs that could have gotten drafted. They were invited to the combine in Indianapolis. They had their own pro days. The measurables and the speed matched up, comparable, yet they were not drafted. This year, out of Jackson State, cornerback Isaiah Bolden, he was drafted in the 7th round, overall pick number 245. And there's only 259 picks in the draft, and he was drafted by the New England Patriots. Danny, this is a travesty because when you start thinking about HBCU players who don't get drafted, you really start to compare from other FCS schools and just bigger schools in general, even the FBS. You talk about giving back to your alma mater. Well, a part of that is they need to be drafted mm-hmm. In order to give back to their alma mater. I think there needs to be some kind of investigation and this is just my personal opinion, not that of any organization I'm a member of or anything of that sort. But then I think there needs to be an investigation here for these players not to get drafted, and the measurables and the speed, etc., are comparable. Something's wrong. Granted, yes, they're in FCS. They may not possibly have quote unquote the competition that these teams are looking for, but nonetheless, they're still quality players. And maybe these franchises are thinking, well, we can get value at the FCS level, at the HBCU level. I don't know, Danny. I think something needs to be done here. Just not right, in my opinion. And uh, Prime Time, or excuse me, Coach Prime actually indicated that he's ashamed of the NFL for 31 teams to pass up on opportunities to draft at the HBCU level. I don't know, Danny. I just feel like something needs to be done here. But what say you about the NFL draft?
I called this out our last show to keep an eye out to see what would happen in this draft. They disappointed big time. And just to have one player selected, I was thinking, all right, if they're going to select who they're going to select, I was thinking your boy from FAMU, Land. I thought for sure he would get picked. And there are a couple others of note, but just to have one selected, I know a few HBCU players were picked up after the draft. Yeah, man, it's hard to advance when you don't get the opportunity to advance.
Right.
And that's tough, man. And I know Dion is, the one voice, but I think it just needs to be some more voices to get behind this, to make it more of an issue, to make sure that it's not getting swept under the rug every year. Because it's like, oh, okay, this is what it is, but then all of a sudden no one really talks about it.
Yep.
So that's where I think something needs to happen, where people are bringing this up more and more from the HBCU community, to make sure that it's known, and at least put some people in the hot seat to make them answer some questions of why and why not, and what is the reason. I think it's bigger platforms need to make this known and start calling things out to see how it can be rectified in the future. But until it is, this is still going to continue. I don't see it changing.
Yeah.
Anytime soon.
Yeah. The frustrating thing is, I know down at FAMU that all 32 teams went down there to the pro day.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not that they're not getting exposure, because Dion had I think there was an HBCU combine. There was opportunities and where Isaiah Land and team, they actually participated in different senior bowls and things of that nature. So the exposure is there. They've been exposed. It's just that maybe they just don't have the right individuals in the decision making for these franchises. I know Detroit, they have I can't remember the individual's name right now, but they've had a coach, a recruiter who is an HBCU alum or has HBCU ties, and was able to actually draft or help draft some HBCU folks to Detroit, especially last year. So I don't know, Danny. It just seems like things are off, but we'll see what happens moving forward here. Your Atlanta Falcons, Danny. Any news on your draft picks? I'm pretty excited about
it. Well, Atlanta, as always, stirs up some drama, and we didn't disappoint this year, where Jalen Carter was on the board from Georgia, and some deemed him as the top player in the draft, in which the Philadelphia Eagles picked him 9, and we had pick 8. We took Bijan Robinson, and it's one of those things, man. It's tough because, yeah, Jalen Carter is the better player. Yes, we had a definite need on the defensive line, but with his issues that he had off the field, and not being in the room, because we're not privy to that, but it's one of those things where it may be, from the individual standpoint, it may be better for him to get out of Atlanta and not be in Georgia with all the things surrounding him right now, and just get away and have a fresh start. So from our standpoint, I would love to have him on the team because he's a baller. But Bijan Robinson had a great career at Texas, running back, and look forward to seeing how they utilize him. It is kind of high for a running back, so that kind of scares me a little bit. But the kid's talented, and he's a great character guy. So I think that's where some of this decision-making came into play, especially around this pick. And then we took offensive line, second round. Matt Bergeron, like the pick there. The other pick I want to just call out is round 4, Clark Phillips from Utah, cornerback, Pac-10 or Pac-12 player of the year, defensive player of the year. I think that was a steal in the 4th round. And so Atlanta picked in their areas of need. It just, the first round, I'm hoping Bijan Robinson and Tyler Algier can coexist in the backfield because they do run the ball a lot. So I think that was some of their thinking as well, to take a running back that early. So I hope it pans out for the Falcons. How about your Packers?
Danny, so this has been an interesting draft. Packers went ahead and took Lucas Van Ness, linebacker of Iowa, in round 1. But ironically enough, man, they went ahead and drafted some offensive pieces and offensive weapons in this draft, which is unlike the Green Bay Packers. Wondering if that is a dig against Aaron Rodgers. But nonetheless, in the second round, man, they went ahead and got a tight end. Luke Musgrave, Jaden Reed, wide receiver in the second round. Go figure. Tucker Craft, another tight end in the 3rd round. We went ahead and drafted a quarterback, Sean Clifford, Penn State, in the 5th round. We're not done yet offensively, Danny. Dontavian Wicks, wide receiver in the 5th round. Got another kicker. Got a running back you got another kicker in Anders Carlson in the 6th round. In the 7th round, we got another running back here, Lou Nichols. So, Danny, this is really in the last pick in the 7th round, they got Grant DuBose, another wide receiver. Let me just say this, man. This is totally a dig at Aaron Rodgers. I can't remember the last time the Packers have been this offensive heavy in a draft. So we'll see what happens here. But they got pieces. They got weapons. The Packers went ahead and they did not get the option here for Jordan Love, but they did agree on a 1-year extension. So I think that speaks volumes, quite frankly. And I think they will go ahead and at the end of next year see how he does, and then go ahead and make a bigger offer here. But nonetheless, Danny, these Green Bay Packers, the executive staff, they now have their players. Aaron Rodgers wasn't one of their players. So now they have Jordan Love, and now they have the weapons and the pieces put around them. But I'm going to tell you who I was really impressed with more so from a divisional standpoint. The Detroit Lions. I think they drafted pretty well. And I'm going to tell you, I'm going to go out on a limb here right now and say I think the Detroit Lions may win the division, or they're going to be second, right behind Minnesota, if that's the case. But I can really see Detroit making some moves here in the division. I hate to say it, but it is what it is.
Thank you for joining us at Back Porch Talk Podcast. You can also join us on Twitter by tweeting us at @back_podcast. For more information, you can go to our website, which is backporchtalkpodcast.com. You can also email us at backporchtalkpodcast@gmail.com. Again, thank you for joining us, and remember that there's enough hate in the world, so go ahead and spread a little love.